observation. Well, dear teacher friends, we know that India is the second largest country in the world to have maximum natural resources. We are next only to Africa. So in terms of the capital of the natural resources, we are next only to Africa and we are ranking number 2 in the...
Good morning, sir.
Yes, please. Okay. Now, when I say natural resources, there are two terms. One is nature, another is resource. What do you mean by nature? What do you understand by the term or the concept or the word nature? So it is very difficult to define nature. It is very difficult to define the term nature. But however, very briefly, it can be explained, or it can be said that nature is all natural areas or areas unmodified by man or areas which have been modified by man during centuries of settlement and the beautiful landscapes. All these put together, we call it as nature. So that means all the natural areas, areas unmodified by man, and the areas which have been modified by man during centuries of settlement and the landscapes. All these put together, we call them as nature. Now, this nature has given us plenty of resources. Now, what are these resources that has been given to us by nature? Air, water, minerals, soil, forest, wildlife. So, all these things have been given to us by nature. So, as these resources are given to us by nature, we call them as natural resources. We call them as natural resources. Now, the term is resource. What is a resource? How do you define a resource? Resource can be defined as part of the environment that come into the service of mankind. So, resource can be defined as a part of the environment or nature that come into the service of mankind. That is what we call it as resource. Say you look at air, water, minerals, they are all coming into the service of mankind one way or the other. So, we call them as resources. Now, these natural resources are very broadly categorized into indestructible and destructible natural resources. So, they are very broadly categorized into indestructible and destructible natural resources. Indestructible natural resources include air and water. As the term itself suggests, these are the resources which cannot be destructed by the interference of mankind or his activities. So, that means destruction is different from pollution, we know it. And as these resources cannot be destructed by the interference of the man through his activities, so we call them as indestructible natural resources. Destructible natural resources are those resources which can be destructed by the interference of man or through his activities. That means if there is anthropogenic interference or anthropogenic activities are taking place, then resources may get depleted or disturbed or destructed. So such natural resources, we call it as destructible natural resources. Destructible natural resources include renewable resources and non-renewable resources. For example, soil, forest, wildlife, they are all considered as renewable resources. Even after destruction of these resources, say for example, if the fertility of the soil is lost, by judicious manuring, the fertility of the soil can be brought back. Similarly, if you cut a plant and the sapling of the plant or the same species can be grown and can be replaced back into the nature. If you can kill an animal through proper breeding program, once again a new individual can be produced. So thus, those resources which can be replaced back into the nature even after destruction, they are called destructible renewable resources. They can be renewed in the nature even after destruction. But if you look at minerals, for example, you burn petrol, diesel, etc. So these, once you use it, they are converted into some products. When you burn petrol or diesel, it is converted into ash. So from that, you cannot replace back the petrol or diesel into the nature. Suppose you extract gold from its ore. So gold, once it is extracted from its ore and made into jewelry, from the same jewelry, you cannot replace back the ore back into the nature. So these resources which cannot be replaced back into the nature even after destruction or consumption or usage, so those resources are referred to as non-renewable resources. They are referred to as destructible, non-renewable resources. Among all these resources, if you look at air, water, soil and minerals, they are non-living resources. They are referred to as non-living resources, while forest and wildlife are considered to be the living resources. What is a forest and what is a wildlife? Forest is generally a term that is used to represent an assemblage of plants in a particular area. The assemblage of the plants in a natural area, you refer it to as forest. And the group of animals that are dwelling in the forest, you refer it to as wildlife. You are going to refer it to as wildlife. But strictly speaking, both assemblage of plants and the group of animals are put together are referred to as wildlife only. They are referred to as wildlife. Only for our convenience sake, conventionally, very broadly, we categorize the group of plants or the assemblage of plants as forest and the assemblage of or group of animals as wildlife. But strictly speaking, both forests and animals, that is wildlife, are referred to as wildlife only. They are referred to as wildlife only. Now, these resources, that is the forest and wildlife, are consisting of the plants and animals, which are the living resources. For the term life or living thing, we use the word in Greek, bio. The term bios refers to the life or living thing. So forest and wildlife are considered as the bioresources. They are referred to as the bioresources. Now, if you look at these resources, the bioresources, whether the plants or animals, so we know that these resources do not resemble each
Hello,
other.
sir.
Hello?
Sorry for interruption, sir. Your slide is not moving.
I have not yet moved the slide.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
I have not yet moved the slide. I am explaining the first slide itself still. Okay. Fine. Now, among these forest and wildlife, as I said, the forest is the assemblage of plants and the wildlife is referred to as the animals. And if you look at the group of plants or any species of the plants or any species of the animal, we know that they do show variation. They do show variation. Even if you consider human beings, though we are referred to as Homo sapiens, scientific name of the human beings is Homo sapiens. Though we belong to one species, that is Homo sapiens, we do not resemble each other in all the aspects. Though we are having eyes, nose, hands, legs, mouth, everything, we do differ both morphologically and genetically, externally as well as genetically. So we do not resemble each other exactly. So in other words, we do show variation. We are the living entities. Tiger, even if there is a population of a tiger, one tiger differs from another tiger. Though externally it appears to be the same like, but yet they do show variation. So this variation or variability that exists among the living entities, we call it as biodiversity. We call it as biodiversity. The term bios refers to living or life, and diversity refers to the variety or variability that manifests among the living entities. So, hope you have understood what is the meaning of biodiversity. So biodiversity refers to the variety and variability of the living entities. Now, if you look at any ecosystem, ecosystem is nothing but part of the biosphere or the earth, where there is both living and non-living entities are interacting each other. Both living and non-living entities are interacting each other. So in each ecosystem, now we know that there are different kinds of ecosystems. Say in water, aquatic ecosystem, we say lake ecosystem, river ecosystem, ocean ecosystem, pond ecosystem. Right. So there are different types of aquatic ecosystem. Same is the case with the terrestrial ecosystems, that is on the land. So evergreen forest, semi-evergreen forest, deserts, scrublands, scrub forest, grasslands. So deciduous forest, varieties and varieties of forest, mangrove forest. So if you look at the different kinds of ecosystems, they are all showing variation. And we know that suppose you are having one lake at your place and we are having another lake here at Mysore, though both of them are considered to be as lakes, the flora and fauna, the plants and animals that are present in one lake differs from another lake. So in other words, all these living entities are present in, irrespective of ecosystem, living entities are present in an ecosystem. Without living entities, you cannot see the functioning of an ecosystem. Today, all living entities, if at all, are surviving, it is because of the food energy that is consumed by us, consumed by the living entities. Who is going to produce this food energy? It is the plants, the green plants. During the function of photosynthesis, they prepare the food energy. So during the preparation of food energy by the green plants, they use sunlight or radiant energy, we call it as carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, water from the geosphere. So in presence of the green pigment called chlorophyll in their leaves or stems, they are going to manufacture the food. And that food is going to be consumed by all living entities. So all living entities are dependent upon the green plants for their food energy. And by consuming this food energy, we have grown, developed, and continuing our generation and all various activities. So various activities that are taking place in the living beings are called metabolic activities. They are called metabolic activities. So various activities are taking place. For all these activities, you need energy. You need energy. That energy is obtained from the plants. So plants are going to utilize, manufacture this food during the function of photosynthesis. And these plants are present in every ecosystem, in every ecosystem. So that is why these plants, and not only one kind of plants are present, there are varieties of plants in aquatic ecosystem, terrestrial ecosystem, etc. There are varieties of these autotrophic, right? Autotroph means the individuals which can manufacture their own food material, they are called autotrophs. So they are going to prepare their food energy, and that is how the ecosystem is functioning. So animals are dependent upon the plants, and on the plants there are many animals, and including human beings we are dependent. And if you are a carnivore or a non-vegetarian, so you are dependent upon another animal, and that animal is in turn dependent upon the plants. Likewise, it is a sort of an interconnecting network that is present among the living entities in an ecosystem. In other words, if an ecosystem has to function, if a living entity has to carry out its activities, so it must utilize the food energy. Food energy has to be produced. And that is how we can say the varieties of the living plants and animals, that is biodiversity, forms an integral component, an inseparable component of any ecosystem. So in an ecosystem, whenever there are varieties of plants and animals are present, it is not a simple structure. It is a complex entity. It is a complex entity where there is interaction, give and take, business. All these things will be there. That is why we say that biodiversity is a what? A system, or it is referring to the group of animals or plants or both, that is the living entities. So there may be present in the terrestrial ecosystem.
Slide. Slide.
Now I have moved the slide. Can you able to see? Hello?
No, sir.
No, sir, no, sir.
No, sir.
Huh?
Slide move ಆಗ್ತಾ sir.
No, sir.
1 minute. Just I moved one slide. 1 minute.
No.
Now you see?
Yes.
ಇವಾಗ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ sir.
1 minute. I will
Yes, sir.
show you.
Sir.
Is it moving?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes sir. Yes
Moving,
sir.
sir. Moving.
Moving. Okay, fine. Thank you. So now that is why biodiversity refers to the variety and variability of the living entities, whether they are in terrestrial ecosystem or marine ecosystem or any aquatic ecosystem. So wherein whenever they are present, they form a complex, ecological complexes. Okay. And
Sir.
yes. Yes. Any problem? Now, in between, if there is any destruction here with respect to what we can say the visuals or audio things, you can tell me. Otherwise, try to not disturb me during my lecture. Now, what I must try to tell you here is that means biodiversity, varieties of organisms are present in all possible types of ecosystem. And if you look at the varieties of organism, see, tiger, elephant in a forest, isn't it? Deer, they are all differing each other. Even if a tiger and cat resembles externally, but yet they do show variation. Even though we resemble each other, we do show variation. So, thus, the variation that is existing among the living entities, which we call it as biodiversity. And very broadly, this biodiversity is categorized into 3 types. They are genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Now, I told you in the beginning that we all belong to only one species, that is Homo sapiens. And why we do show variation? Why I do not look like you and you do not look like me? It is because of the genetic makeup of the individuals. So, my parents are different, your parents are different. Their parents are different and your grandfather's parents are different. So likewise, here we see the population or the individuals of a species do show variation because of the variation in the genetic makeup. So that diversity, we call it as genetic diversity. So genetic diversity, biodiversity may be due to, it may be of one kind called genetic diversity. In other words, biodiversity is classified into 3 kinds: genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Now, to make it still simple, how many varieties of mango you are aware of? How many varieties probably are present? Just tell me, whatever the number you know it, any one of you can interact. Yes? How many varieties of mangoes you have come across?
Sir, there
No.
are so many variety of mangoes are there, sir. But we can't say particularly this many type of mango like that.
No. How many types in the sense, how many number of varieties, number of mangoes? For example, you say totapuri, then raspuri, badam, like that. How many number you are aware of? Probably. Some number you can tell me, there's nothing wrong. You need not know that every number. Some 10, 20, 100 mangoes varieties you have come across?
500 sir.
More than 20, sir.
Okay, 500, 200, like that. But have you seen these varieties of mango? Will they resemble each other? One type of variety and another type of variety?
No, sir.
No
Yes. No. All these mango is scientifically called Mangifera indica, mango plant. but the fruits of it is going to show variation, isn't it? There are different varieties of the mango plants, isn't it? So now similarly, I will ask you another question. How many varieties of rice or paddy you have come across? Approximately, you can say any number, no problem.
300 types, sir.
300 types. Can you tell me at least some 4-5 types of varieties of rice?
Arka, Basmati, Malge Haki,
Okay.
Kuchalaki,
Kusalaki, Sona Musuri. Tell me.
Jayavata, Jaya,
Jaya, Padma, Kaveri. There are varieties of rice, not names of ladies. Okay. Okay, fine. Now you see that all these varieties do show variation, isn't it? In the contents of the starch or in the contents of the food or in anything like that, even in the size of the grain. So even with the smell, everything, it do show variation. So this variation is basically because of the variation in the genetic makeup of the plants. That is called genetic diversity. I will show you now. In the next slide, you assess. As on today, in the world, we do have, look at 5,000 recorded varieties of mango and 88,000 recorded varieties of rice, paddy, Oryza sativa, scientific name. Okay. Now, this much of variation is existing among the plant because of the genetic makeup variation. So that variation, you call it as genetic diversity. You call it as genetic diversity. Now, the second one is said to be the species diversity. Now, look at here. Felis tigris is the scientific name of tiger. Felis domestica is the scientific name of cat. Both belong to one and the same family. But yet, tiger cannot breed with cat, cat cannot breed with tiger, isn't it? So that is why they are referred to as different species. They are different species belonging to the same family. So this variation that exists between two different species, you call it as species diversity. You call it as species diversity. A mango and an apple cannot breed among themselves. So mango is different, apple is different, isn't it? So the variation that exists between two different species, we call it as species diversity. And the third one, you call it as ecosystem diversity. Are the slides are moving?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, now the third type is said to be ecosystem diversity. That means in one and the same geographical area, you take any area, for example, hill station of Markera, Chikmagalur, or Nandi Hills, wherever you go. So you might have observed that is the same soil type, same climatic conditions, everything remains the same. But yet there are different types of ecosystems that are developed. Look at here. So grassland is present and a forest is present. So grasslands are present and the forest is present. In one and the same geographical area, there are two different kinds of ecosystems. So now what are the plants and animals that are present in the forest? They are different from the grassland. So this variation that exists among two different ecosystems in one and the same geographical area, you call it as ecosystem diversity. For example, here is a grassland, and in the valleys of mountains, you can see a forest like it is called shola forest. The plants and animals of shola forest are not seen in grasslands, and the plants and animals of grasslands are not seen in the shola forest. So thus, in one and the same geographical area, we do see the variation that exists among the ecosystems. So that is called ecosystem diversity. Hope you have understood. So there are three types of biodiversity: genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Now let us see certain facts related to the biodiversity. That is just for information, and I will let you know why I am showing these things. Because in the beginning itself, I told you that India is the second largest country in the world to have maximum natural resources. Though we are having plentiful of natural resources, we are not ranking number 2 in economy. We are not ranking number 2 in our economy. Why it is so? For all these things, at the end, you will come to know what may be the reasons for all these things. Now, to show you certain facts, we know that this is our geographical area. And as on today morning at around 9:05, the population is around 8.2 billion in the world. Right? It is still clicking on. Okay. And as on today, 2025, we can say the world forest cover is about 4.06 billion hectares. That means we are having about 31% of the forest throughout the globe. An ideal forest cover according to National Forest Policy is 33%. Remember, in any geographical area, an ideal forest cover should be 33%. So worldwide, we are having 31% of the forest cover. It does not mean that uniformly we do have forest cover across the world. Some area is having more than 40-60% of the forest, even 90%, and some area will be having very less percentage of the forest cover. So in total, when you consider it, so the world forest cover is about 31%. And forest and tree cover in India is estimated to be around 25.17% as on today. And of this much of the forest cover, 40% of this global forest is distributed between South America, Africa, and South Asia. That means these are the regions which are rich in biodiversity. As I said, biodiversity refers to the variation and the varieties of plants and animals. Plants are also referred to as flora. Animals are also referred to as fauna. Flora and fauna, plants and animals. Now, how many species are present in the world? No scientist, no individual can give an accurate statistical figure about the number of species present on the earth. Some will say 5 million, some will say 10 million. So they have made an approximation that has been made. So indicate that there are about 5 to 100 million species are known to exist on this earth. And of this much of species, only 1.9 million species have been catalogued so far. What is cataloging? Cataloging means identification and classification. Suppose you go to a library, they will say cataloging of the books. Say, these books belong to economics, this belongs to botany, this belongs to physics, this belongs to English, this belongs to Kannada. Likewise, they do classification, isn't it? They sort out. And based on the type of the subject, they are going to assign a particular rack and particular author and everything, all these things, they are going to arrange it. So that is called cataloging. Similarly, plants and animals are going to be identified, and after identification, they group them, right? Oh, whether this belongs to the fish group, this belongs to the frog group, this belongs to the bird group, or this belongs to the mammals group, or this belongs to the invertebrate group. So likewise, they are going to classify. So identification and classification is called cataloging. And of the about 5 to 100 million species are known to exist on this earth, only about 1.9 million species have been catalogued. You just imagine still how many species are yet to be identified on this earth. Now, most of these species are being present in the such regions of the world which we call it as hot spots. Hot spots. So there are about 36 hot spots in the world. So can anybody tell me what is a hot spot? Any idea? But don't say hot spot is a region which is very hot.
Nilgiri.
No.
Sir,
Oh. Yes. Tell me, no
Amazon,
problem.
Amazon forests are hot.
Yeah, no, I didn't ask the example. Why? What do you understand by the term hotspot?
ವಿವಿಧ ರೀತಿಯ ಸಸ್ಯಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳ ಸಮೂಹ ಒಂದು ನೆಲೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ ಸ್ಥಳ ಸರ್ ಹಾಟ್ಸ್ಪಾಟ್.
ಎಷ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೆ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ? ಎಷ್ಟಿರ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ?
ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಭೇದಗಳು ಸರ್ ಒಂದು ಆ ಏರಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ.
Very good. In other words, there should be a maximum number of species, right? Maximum number of varieties and varieties of species. That means species richness must be there in an area before identifying it as a hotspot. Anyway, I will tell you what is a hotspot in the coming slides. Remember, that is the region which is rich in species, of both plants and animals. And in worldwide, there are 36 such hotspots. And in India, there are 4 such hotspots. In Kannada, they say bisi nelegalu, right? Something like that, or bisi danagalu, something. So worldwide, there are 36 hotspots, and in India, there are 4 such hotspots. Now, if you say there are 100% of plants and animal species are there, about 44.4% of these plant species and 35.3% of the vertebrate species. Now, here once again a term has come, vertebrate. Vertebrate means animals which are having backbone. So, whether you are a vertebrate, animals which do not have backbone, they are called invertebrates. Animals which are not having backbone, they are called invertebrates. Now, I will ask you one question. You immediately must interact. Okay. Now, human beings, whether they are vertebrates or invertebrates?
Vertebrate, sir.
Vertebrates.
Fine. Bird?
They are
Bird.
also
Birds,
Vertebrate, sir.
vertebrates or
Birds also
invertebrates?
vertebrate.
Huh?
Vertebrate.
Vertebrates. Cockroach?
Invertebrate.
invertebrate.
Housefly?
Invertebrates.
They don't have
Invertebrate.
backbone, sir.
Fish?
Vertebrates.
Vertebrate.
Vertebrate.
Okay. Snake?
Vertebrate.
Snake?
Vertebrate.
Vertebrate.
Okay, fine. So now you know it, because some people will say snake is invertebrate. Okay, it is also a vertebrate. So
Vertebrate.
likewise, the hotspot is the region which is rich in this much of biodiversity. And if you look at the land area of India, we are having just 328.7 million hectares of the land. So, in other words, we occupy 2.47% of the world geographical area. We occupy just only 2.47% of the world geographical area, and we have only 2% of the forest. So, our contribution to the world forest cover is only 2%. And India has about 17.78% of the world human population, and totally we are having in India about 32.6% of cattle population. Now, India is ranking number 1 in human population. India is ranking number 1 in cattle population, and our geographical area is just 328.7 million hectares, and our forest cover is only 2% of the world forest cover. Our geographical area is not increasing, but our human population and cattle population is increasing. Now you just look at how much of pressure is being exerted on our natural resources. So you want living space, you want food energy, you want sheltering place. So just imagine. So that is how a lot of pressure has been put on our natural resources. And if you consider globally, India is followed by Brazil and China in terms of having large amount of or large quantity of the cattle population. So as on today, if you look at about roughly 64% of the world's cattle are in India, Brazil and China. So of which about 32.62% is present in India. So we are having very good resource of the cattle and also the human population. So this point, I want you people to correlate it at the end as to why we are losing biodiversity and why we are lacking economically still. Okay. Now, if you look at the forest cover in India, forest and tree cover put together in India, we are having about 25.17%. It is not the prescribed standard forest cover. What is the standard prescribed forest cover? I told you
33%.
33%. So we are,
33%.
yes, still we are having shortage of just minus 25. So this almost nearing 8%, right, is the loss of forest cover in India. So among this, the 21.76% is the actual forest cover, and through plantation and other program, other things, cultivable lands, we are having about 3.41%. So that thus the total green cover, forest and tree cover in India is accounting for about 25.17%. And if you say there is 100% of biodiversity in the world, so India's contribution is 8%. So we are contributing about 8% to the world's biodiversity. So in India, for every person, we are having about 0.52 hectares of the forest cover. We are just having only 0.52 hectares of the forest cover. 93% of the forest area worldwide is composed of naturally regenerating forest. Natural growth of the trees and other things will be there. So such type of forest area is about 93%, and about 7% is just planted, through afforestation and other program. So globally, if you consider, 44% of the plantation forests are composed. 44% of the plantation is composed of mainly introduced species, not naturally grown species. Not naturally grown species. You take one plant species or seedling or sapling or seeds from one area to another area. So they are referred to as the introduced species. So globally, 44% of the plantation forests are composed of these introduced species. And India, we are having, as on today, approximately about 47,513 species of the wild plants and 92,037 species of wild animals. I said I'm using the word wild plants and wild animals. What do you understand by the term wild? What do you refer? What is it mean by a wild plant or a wild animal? Can anybody tell me?
They are in habitat. They are in natural habitat, sir.
They are in natural habitat.
Natural habitat.
Suppose there are tribal people in the natural, right, forest. Do you call them as the wild? Do you call them as wild? I'm just confusing you intentionally. Okay, there are certain wild human beings. For example, the tribes in the Andaman and Nicobar area, Jarwas, they are called Jarwas. So they are the wild human beings, wild population of that area is there. So that means our ancestors. So from centuries and millions of years ago, we had these wild species. What is a wild species? Now I will tell you. That means any species which is born and brought up in a particular geographical area over a period of time through the process of evolution. So if a species has been born and brought up onto this earth through the process of evolution over a period of time, during centuries and centuries of time, then such species are referred to as the wild species. Do you consider that we are wild species? Do you consider that we are wild species? Yes or no?
No, sir.
No, we are not wild species. We are domesticated. We are all domesticated. So once Homo sapiens species from the ancestral man, the progenies have been developed, the offsprings have been developed. So with the advent of modernization, thinking, civilization, so we started refining everything. And today we are all what? The domesticated individual. Similarly, the rice that we are eating today, they are all cultivated. They are not wild varieties. Wild varieties have been naturally born, naturally produced in a geographical area, over a period of time through the process of evolution. They are called wild species. For example, just simplest example, Jersey cow you might have heard, isn't it? Jersey cow, have you heard? Variety of Jersey cow.
Yes, sir.
It is a
Yes, sir.
wild
Yes, sir.
species. It is a wild species which used to give 5 to 8 liters of or more than that the milk. But today, whatever the cows that you are doing is the reared one, is the bred one, isn't it? Through breeding programs. So they are all domesticated ones. Now, suppose you want, I will give you another simplest example. In your home, if you want to produce a rose variety, varieties of different colored roses, what will you do? You will go for grafting, isn't it? So with whom you will graft it? You will take a plant and you want to graft it with a wild variety. Either it is a white colored rose plant or it will be a red colored rose plant. They are the only two wild varieties that are available. With that one, you are going to graft it and start producing the hybrid varieties. So thus, now out of interest, just I am asking you, when you go to eat, assume that you are eating. So whether you prefer wild egg or wild chicken biryani or farm chicken biryani?
Wild
ನಾಟಿ ಕೋಳಿ
sir.
ಅಂತೀರಾ? ನಾಟಿ ಕೋಳಿ ಬಿರಿಯಾನಿ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಿರೋ ಫಾರಂ ಕೋಳಿ ಬಿರಿಯಾನಿ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಿರೋ?
Wild, sir.
ನಾಟಿ ಕೋಳಿ ಸರ್.
ನಾಟಿ
ಎರಡು
ಕೋಳಿ. Why?
ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀವಿ sir.
Why?
Because of
It
taste.
is very healthiest.
You feel that it is healthier, isn't it? So, as compared to the farm chicken, in the sense, the wild varieties are always having the natural ingredients in their body. They have got the more strength, more stability, right? And more adaptive features to the environment. Okay, as compared to the what? Domesticated or cultivated. So the varieties of rice today which we are seeing, they are all cultivars, right? That varieties of animals, right? They are all domesticated ones. We use the word domestication for animals, cultivation for the plants. But their parents, if you keep on tracing their parents and parents and parents, like that origin of those species, then you will come across they are all descended down through the process of evolution from the wild species. If you consider how we have been came to exist on this earth, means our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, like that. If you go back, so millions of years ago, there was an ancestral man resembling the apes or monkeys, like, isn't it? So now they are the wild species. From those wild species, gradually we have been what? Refined, and we have all been domesticated. Now, this wild species is very important because they are having very strong character for adaptability and productivity from all these point of view. And also for increased productivity, we always need wild species, especially in the breeding program of a plant or an animal to produce a desired character in an individual. We need wild species. So one simplest example I will give you, ragi plant. Today, whatever the ragi that we are using, they are all cultivars. So the original ragi was evolved about millions of years ago, and that is called Eleusine. Scientifically, we use the term Eleusine coracana. Eleusine coracana is the scientific name of that ragi plant. Actually, that plant is a hybrid between two wild varieties. There were two species before the continental drift. So you know that before the continental drift, before all the countries got separated or continents got separated, it was a landmass. So at that time, all the plants were growing together. There were two plants called Eleusine indica and Eleusine africana. Just for your information, I am telling you. Just you need not have to remember all these scientific names. Africana is one species, another was indica. So indica was now in Asian continent. Africana is in Africa continent. But before continental drift, they were all growing together. And when the pollen grains from one plant to another plant have been taken place, and the seed set was about to be formed, continental separation, continental drift has taken place. Somehow the hybrid seeds between the cross of Africana and Indica have fallen on the landmass of India and Asian continent. And they started growing very naturally because the conditions were suitable. So when they started growing naturally, they started producing the seeds, fruits and seeds, the tassel, tene, right? The ancestral man, so he started eating it. He found it to be very delicious, rich in proteins like. So he used to eat and threw it away here and there. So when he used to throw it here and there, you know that we are descendants from monkey-like animals. So automatically the seeds started spreading here and there on the land mass and they started growing very naturally. So natural population of the ragi plant was abundant. Then when man through ages started the invention and discoveries of production of new varieties of crops and other things, he started crossing one variety with another variety, including that wild variety, which has been naturally originated. He wanted to produce more and more. That is how the ragi plant came to existing. Today, whatever the ragi that we are eating, it's all cultivars. They are all cultivars. It does not mean that wild varieties are not there. Wild varieties are rare. It is there. So in some areas, they have protected it. They have conserved it. So that wild variety is very, very tastier, very, very healthier, very, very strong adaptive features for varied environmental or climatic conditions. So that's how wild species are very important. So in India, we are having about 320 such species of the wild relatives of the crops in India. Now look at, we are reaching. And thus, so far, about 1,39,550 species of plants, animals, including microorganisms, have been recorded in India. Still more than 4 lakh species are yet to be identified in India. Now, after knowing this, if you look at the state of Karnataka, in Karnataka, so it is the 8th largest state in the country. And we know that this is the area of the state. And in Karnataka, we are having just 21.21% of the forest cover as against 33%. So Karnataka is still lacking in forest cover. And the coastal area runs about around 10,000 square kilometers in Karnataka. And we are having in this coastal area, especially the adjoining of oceans and the freshwaters, rivers, we have got this mangrove forest, which is stretching about 14.20 square kilometer. Now, why I am showing this is because as compared to India, Karnataka is also rich in biodiversity, no doubt, but we are exploiting too much of this forest wealth, this biodiversity, and we have not bothered to protect or conserve this biodiversity, as a result of which we are seeing there is a decrease or decline in the forest cover to an extent of 21.21%. So this will be having a lot of impact on our environment, global warming and climate change. You might have heard the word. So all these are due to the loss of biodiversity or the forest cover. So now look at, this is the state. And Karnataka is the home of sandalwood and rosewood. And we support about 25% of India's elephant population and 10% of India's tiger population. Madhya Pradesh is ranking number 1 in tiger population and Karnataka is ranking number 2 in tiger population. And in India, in Karnataka, we are having about 4,758 flowering plants, which are only seen here in this area, among which the native species, 95 are endemics. Here I am using the word endemics. Try to remember this word, endemic. What is an endemic species? That means a species which is born in a particular geographical area, so it becomes the native place of that species. Suppose you are born in Mysore, you are called native to Mysore. You are born in Bangalore, you are called native to Bangalore. That means if you are born in Mysore, you are endemic to Mysore. If you are born in Bangalore, you are called endemic to Bangalore. If you are born in Mysore and settled in Bangalore, say even for centuries, you are not called endemic to Bangalore. You are endemic to Mysore only. So in other words, the place where you have originated, born and brought up, right, and then established. So you are referred to as endemic to that area. In other words, the native place of a species is called endemic, or endemism is called endemism. So about 95 such native species. These 95 species are not born anywhere in the world. They took their origin only in the state of Karnataka. So about 95 such endemic plant species are present in Karnataka. And if you consider the Western Ghats, which starts right from the mouth of river Tapti in Gujarat and extends up to Kanyakumari, and of this stretch, 60% is running through the state of Karnataka. So 60% of the Western Ghats region are located in Karnataka. That is why Karnataka is also rich in biodiversity. We are having plenty of evergreen, semi-evergreen, dry deciduous, grasslands, shola forest, mangrove forest, all possible types of forests are present in the state of Karnataka, and that is how Karnataka is also rich in biodiversity. Now, okay. When we knowing all these things, you may develop one question: who will identify and who will record all this information related to biodiversity? So there is an international organization is there called IUCN. IUCN is an international body. It is called International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. It consists of members from almost all the countries of the world, and they have got very good, what we can say, network of what we can say recording and documenting the number of species of the plants and animals across the globe. They have got ecologists, environmentalists, botanists, zoologists, computers, economists, right? All possible, forest lovers, tribals, layman, everybody, right? That means they have been grouped into organization in different forums and different sectors, and they pull in the information from throughout the world and they document it, and they will monitor. They monitor day to day. Day to day, they are monitoring as to how many species are there, how many individuals are there, how many have been killed, how many of them have been lost over a period of time, in 5 years, in 1 year, in 6 months, in 10 years, like that. They are recording everything, and based on all these data input, they are going to decide whether the species in any area is present or absent, whether it is seen or totally vanished from the earth or disappeared from the earth. Thus, if a species that has been originated on the earth and it is not going to be seen or not recorded since last 50 years or the past 50 years, it is recorded as extinct species. It is totally vanished from that area, right? It is called extinct species. A species which has been totally disappeared from the locality and it has not been cited even once in the last 50 years, and that species is recorded as extinct species. And the other species wherein, say suppose there are some species where they are not yet extinct, but they are likely to become extinct. So once again they made sub-classification of those species which are being threatened for extinction, and there are various categories: endangered species, vulnerable species, rare species, indeterminate species. Like that they have classified. Now you don't bother about all this classification of endangered, vulnerable, rare and indeterminate. Just I will tell you, endangered means the individuals whose population is very less. Suppose assume that there is a species like tiger, its population, if it is less than 50 in number, it is considered to be endangered. It is considered to be 50 in one particular area. It is considered to be endangered. So if you keep on killing and using that animal, it becomes extinct in that area. So that means any species which is on the brink of extinction, it is referred to as endangered species. Today in India or worldwide, tiger is on the brink of extinction. Rhinoceros is on the brink of extinction. Lion, Asiatic lion is on the brink of extinction. So they are all referred to as, even king cobra is on the brink of extinction. So they are all referred to as endangered species. They are referred to as endangered species. Then what is vulnerable species? They are nothing but the individuals which are not as much critically numbered as endangered species. Suppose an endangered species is having only 50 individuals, vulnerable species may be having around 200 individuals. Rare species may be having 2000 individuals. So likewise, based on the population size of the species, so different categories have been assigned by this IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. Sometimes in the competitive exams of IAS, IFS, they use the other word, WCU, World Conservation Union. So that is the new name given to IUCN. That is the new name given to IUCN. So before IUCN, it was considered as IUPN, International Union for Protection of Nature. Earlier, how it started. So it was started, when it was started, the name was given as IUPN. Then later on, it was changed into IUCN. Then now it is changed into WCU, the World Conservation Union. But all would mean the same. Now that's how. Now why a species is going to be totally disappearing from the earth? Because whenever the population of any species is there, owing to its importance, people started using, exploiting those species for various purposes, either for food or for commercial purpose or for something else like that. So they used to keep on what? Killing or harvesting the species and started decreasing its population. That is number one. Another reason is the pollution. Pollution is another reason as to why the species, when they cannot adapt or adjust to the changing conditions of the polluted environment, they they suffer and ultimately they will die. So either due to pollution or due to overuse or over exploitation, or sometimes due to some other reasons, or both these put together, both these effects put together, so somehow the species may be threatened to become endangered or vulnerable or rare. Now there are certain plants or animal species about which sufficient information is not being available. For example, I will tell you, in Chikmagalur district of Karnataka, there is one plant called Thalictrum dalzeli, which is in Baba Budan Hills of Chikmagalur district. There are only two plants. Small plants. But we do not know to which group it belongs, what is its importance, what is its significance. Because if at all we want to know about it, we have to cut the plant and study. If you cut the plant will totally disappear. The species will totally disappear. So such type of species are referred to as indeterminate species. So all these information is going to be published in the form of a book called Red Data Book. All these information related to the plants which are already extinct, which are likely to be extinct, like endangered species or vulnerable species, so or indeterminate. So all these information related to the scientific aspects is being available in a book called Red Data Book. The concept of Red Data Book is very important. This concept was given by a scientist called Sir Peter Scott. Sir Peter Scott was the scientist who advocated this Red Data Book. That means this book contains the information related to all the plants and animals, that is endangered species. Why it is called Red Data Book? Because whatever the species that are mentioned in this book are in endangered condition. So they are likely to become extinct. You are not supposed to use them anymore. You are not supposed to harvest them or exploit them anymore. You have to conserve. So from that point of view, it is referred to as Red Data Book. Suppose you are moving in a vehicle and if there is a red signal, automatically you will stop, isn't it? So stop killing, stop exploiting. To signify that one, The book is named as Red Data Book. So that's how all the information is available in this book related to our biodiversity species. And I told you, if you are born in a particular geographical area, you are called native to that particular area. So that is called endemism. So endemism is nothing but ecological state of being unique to a place. In other words, it is a native place of a species. King cobra, Indian rosewood, slender loris. They are native to Western Ghats, the native place. Right? They are endemic to Western Ghats. Why I am introducing this term is because now we will understand. So I told you earlier that hotspot. Hotspot is nothing but, how do you identify in any geographical area as a hotspot? Hotspot is a region which is identified by two factors. Number one is endemism and number two is degree of threat. What is endemism? That means if in a particular geographical area, a minimum of 1,500 endemic species must be there to call it as a hotspot. To call it as a hotspot, a minimum of 1,500 endemic species must be there, native species. It should be born and brought up in that area. So they are called endemic species. And also when such species are present native to a particular area, the usage, exploitation, usage also will be more. That means the degree of threat also will be more. So based on these two factors, the region is identified as a hotspot region. And in India, there are 4 such hotspots: Western Ghats, Eastern Himalayas, Indo-Burma region, and Sundaland. Because in a forest area, you cannot demarcate the boundary of which one is the Indian forest or Burma forest. It is a stretch. That is why put together it is called Indo-Burma region. Sundaland, part of the forest area from Indonesia, Malaysia, and Nicobar Islands. Put together, it is called Sundaland. So thus there are 4 such hotspots present in India. These are rich in species. Rich in a minimum of how many? 1,500 endemic species must be there. Endemic species, remember. So native species must be there. For example, if you consider Western Ghats, in Western Ghats we do have about 2,600 endemic species. 2,600 endemic species. They are not born anywhere in the world. They are born and brought up only in Western Ghats. So likewise, Eastern Himalayas, where we are having approximately nearing 3,000 to 4,000 endemic species there. So likewise, based on the endemism, the hotspots are going to be recognized. Hope you have understood this term, hotspot. Now, after knowing all these things, the question is that why we need biodiversity? Do we need biodiversity? If so, in what way it is useful to us? In what way it is useful to the society? In what way it is useful to the mankind or our economy? Look at this. Biodiversity provides you everything. Today, worldwide, 40% of the world population, 40% of the world population is dependent on biodiversity for their food, natural food. 80% of the world population is dependent upon medicine. 80% of the world population is dependent upon the medicine for this biodiversity. That is on biodiversity for their medicinal value. Now, biodiversity provides you everything. It will provide you food, fodder, fruit, fuel, timber, medicine, whatnot, everything. Day to day in your life, whatever that you are using, everything is a product of biodiversity. You ask me anything, the cloth that you are wearing, the shampoo that you apply, the soap that you use, the medicine that you take, the nail polish, the lipstick, the cheek red, the paints, the belt polish, metal polish, shoe polish, take anything. It is all a part and parcel of biodiversity. So no species can exist without what? Biodiversity. Based on their utility, biodiversity is assigned various values. For example, commercial value has been assigned to biodiversity. Commercial value means that suppose you extract something from a plant or an animal. Suppose you extract oil, neem oil, you extract neem oil and use it in the manufacture of soap. or insecticide or pesticide, it will be commercially marketed. So that is called commercial value. Eucalyptus, Nilgiri. So eucalyptus oil you are going to take and you are going to exploit this oil, extract this oil and sell in the market, isn't it? So which cures headache. So that is called the commercial value of biodiversity. Similarly, neem cake. ಬೇವಿನ ಮರದ ನೀಮ್ ಕೇಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಫರ್ಟಿಲೈಸರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ವೈಸ್ any plants and animals that has been commercially exploited, right, that value of biodiversity is referred to as commercial value. For example, if you are going to be deficient with iron, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿಲಿ ಐರನ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, if you go to a doctor, they may say you are very much anemic, you take iron rich tablet, iron rich tonic. Sometimes they advocate iron rich tonic like charcoferol or ferradol, tonic name. So if you take, you will be, now how it is going to be obtained, that ferradol or charcoferol, it is exploited from the fish shark, from the shark fish. They are going to exploit this what, iron rich compounds and manufacture this tonic. So that is the commercial value of biodiversity. Now biological value. So biological value of biodiversity include pollination, soil formation and nutrient enrichment. Okay. In other words, today whatever the fruits that you are getting throughout the world, it is because of pollination. Who is doing this pollination? Transfer of pollen grains containing male gamete to the female flower containing the egg. So then transfer them and produce the fruits and seeds. Who is doing this job? We are not doing it. It is the varieties of animals that they are doing it, isn't it? Butterflies, honeybees, moths, ants, snails, slugs, they are doing this job. So that is what is the biological value of pollination. And if they do not pollinate, assume that if the population of the trees on which the butterflies go and take, the plants on which the butterflies absorb the nectar and go from flower to flower, while going they will carry the pollen grains and dust it into another flower to affect pollination. Only if pollination is affected, you will see fertilization and production of fruits and seeds. Otherwise, even in a mango plant, you do not see the production of fruits without these pollinating agents. So butterflies are the number one pollinating agents, followed by honeybees. If the population of butterflies and honeybees are destructed, you do not see most of the fruits throughout the world, right? In a mango plant, you may say, oh, I am a scientist, I can artificially take the pollen grain from one flower to another flower, I will transfer it like that. As a plant breeder, even if you do it for lifetime, you may produce hardly 50 fruits. Hardly you may produce, in your lifetime, you may produce 50 fruits or 100 fruits. But what is the demand for mango fruit throughout the world? Just imagine. So that value of biodiversity, wherein pollinating agents like honeybees, butterflies, they are all doing this service to the mankind, that value you call it as biological value. And when all these plants and animals die, the leaf debris, stem, branches, animals, plants, everything die, they are all undergoing decomposition to form soil as well as the enrichment of the nutrients. So that is also the biological value of biodiversity. So you know that today you are all most of them are using chemical fertilizers. Chemical fertilizers are having an adverse effect on the health of every individual. But now you are going for biofertilizers, natural manures, natural cow dung, natural decomposed material, isn't it? So organic farming you are nowadays saying, isn't it? So all these things are going to be obtained by the naturally fallen twigs, branches, stems, fruits, anything of the biomaterial which is undergoing decomposition will form the manure or fertilizers. So in a natural forest, you are not going to put fertilizers, isn't it? You are not going to put any fertilizers for a natural forest. So naturally they themselves are taking care of the soil formation and nutrient enrichment. So that is called the biological value. So I think